You're checking in with the doctor for the greatest fantasy baseball podcast in the world, starring your hosts, Dr. Fantasy.
I'm ready to rock and roll today.
And Rydawg.
Harrison Masturbator.
Welcome to Doc and Dog, your fantasy baseball geniuses, presented by the Fantasyholics.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Doc and Dog, presented by the Fantasyholics. My name is Jordan Jaika, aka Dr. Fantasy, and I am here with my co-host Rydawg. And Rydawg, we are starting our mini-series today talking about the lovely catcher position. So, are you ready to rock and roll and talk some catchers?
I mean, catchers seem like they've made a real big improvement over the years. Like, I could take any one of our guys in the top 10. I think I'd be okay.
Yeah, actually, I agree with that because whenever we talk about catchers, I'm like, oh, I don't want to talk about catchers. But when I was doing my rankings, I mean, I'm pretty comfortable with the top 12, honestly, which is one of the reasons I wait on a catcher in drafts, because once you get past those top few guys, you have a bunch of guys kind of ranked 4 through 12 that are pretty similar. So it's actually a deeper position than people realize. So what we're going to do in this series is break down our rankings, our consensus rankings. So we're going to do 4 catchers per episode. Today we are doing numbers 17 through 20. So we'll hop right into it. Number 20 on our consensus rankings is Robinson Chirinos from the Rangers. Last season, he batted .238 with 17 home runs and 58 RBIs. He is 35 years old. He had a lot of potential. I mean, 17 home runs and 58 RBIs is not too shabby for a catcher. I think the biggest thing holding him back is the fact that he's in the Rangers offense, and the Rangers do have a pretty hitter-friendly ballpark when you look at the ballpark factors and metrics, but between his age and being in a weak lineup, I think his upside is kind of capped.
Yeah, and I like Robinson a lot with the Astros. I think he needs a lineup that can really benefit him, or like a lineup that's hitter heavy, and where he could really excel his potential. But being with the Rangers, like you said, Doc, it's capping his potential. And he was a top 10 catcher, I believe, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He had a career year with the Houston Astros, and I think last year he didn't really do so well. I think Houston's ballpark's a bit smaller, so hopefully, like you said, it's hitter friendly. So maybe he can get into 20 home run category again this year.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing for me for catchers is as they get older. I mean, without fault, I mean, they always get injured as they get older. It's a tough position to play for a long period of time. So when I'm taking a catcher later in drafts, I personally like taking a younger guy that has more to prove, more upside, not as injury prone. So it kind of relates to the next guy too. Number 19 on our rankings is Kurt Suzuki of the Nationals. He last season batted .264, 17 home runs, 63 RBIs. He currently is 36 years old, and we're going to be talking about some oldies today. So the reason I have him above Chirinos is obviously the Nationals' offense is better than the Rangers. So, I mean, he'll be batting towards the bottom of that lineup, but once again, older, capped upside. I expect him to probably put up numbers similar to last year.
Yeah, and I would agree with that for sure. And Nats Park is really a hitter's friendly ballpark, I've always thought, because the deepest part in Nats Park is only 410 to the deep center. So it's definitely good. I mean, he doesn't really have much power as this Suzuki does, but he's a really good contact hitter. So when you put him in that lineup for another year with the Nationals, I think he could hit possibly 70 RBIs.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. Number 18 is Roberto Perez of the Indians. I have him ranked 17th. You had him 15th, so right around the same. Last season, he batted .239 with 24 home runs, 63 RBIs. I do think he has a little bit of potential in the Indians lineup. You know, they have Lindor there, and they have Mercado, and I mean, a solid lineup. I won't say dominant, but a very solid lineup. The only reason I have him lower in general is just because of that .239 average. And throughout the course of his career, he has batted a little lower. So, you know, not that any of these catchers are batting .300 on a consistent basis, but, you know, I try to – a lot of them are hitting around 20 home runs. So Perez offers a good amount of power, but a lower average.
Yeah, now Perez came off a career year last year, so I had him ranked in my top 15. Whenever catchers come off a career year, I think they, or anyone comes off a career year in general, I think they tend to start following not similar, but very a bit lowering numbers, I should say. He's probably won't hit as many home runs. He might have a few less home runs, but I think he's hit his ceiling where he's going to produce more. And I like the Indians' offense. I think with Mercado, Kepler, and Lindor, it's a solid offense. And if he can get guys on base, he can drive in some runs.
Then last today, another oldie, number 17, is Yadier Molina. Before I talk about him briefly, I just want to say RIP to Buster Posey, who did not make it into our top 20 rankings, which is probably the first time he hasn't been included in top 20, maybe in his entire career. So I think his fantasy days are behind him. So thank you for the time, Buster, but you're not draftable anymore.
Yeah, and Buster Posey, I had him ranked, and I made the last-second switch because little did I know he had 12 home runs in the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
That's horrible. He had 38 RBIs last year. He played 114 games, too, so that's just unacceptable. He definitely needs to – I think he needs to retire. He's 33 years old.
Yeah.
He had a great career. Just hang up the boots, hang up those cleats, retire.
And they're ready, too. They have Joey Bart in the wings waiting. So, Joey Bart at this point in his career is much more talented and can provide more for that offense. And we talked about in our mini-series, that's arguably the worst offense in all of baseball. So, Posey, it's just a terrible situation for him all around. And I was telling you before we started recording, he's only 33 years old. And for some reason, I feel like he's 133 years old. But, yeah, he's had a lot of injuries, and he's had a good career, though. I'll be interested to see how many Hall of Fame votes he gets.
Yeah, I think that's the topic for discussion. I think with Posey, I think after that injury back in 2016 where he just got completely demolished when trying to guard the plate at home, which was a horrible injury, but I think that kind of really ruined his career. And ever since that injury, his power metrics have been going really down. Yep. He's not hitting the ball as hard as he used to at all, so it's just a shame is what happened to him. I don't know if he gets in the Hall, though. I don't think
looking at his number. Yeah, I agree. I was looking at his numbers, and it's tough with a catcher, though, so we'll see. I don't know. That's a topic for another time. We'll have an article on that sometime, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure.
Let's see. So last, as I said, number 17, Yadier Molina. This was the biggest difference that you and I had in our rankings. I don't have him in my top 20, and you have him number 11. And I kind of mentioned for me personally, I like taking younger upside catchers. And this isn't that Yadier was bad last season. He batted .270, which I think is a big check for him. And I already mentioned that a lot of catchers don't bat that high, but 10 home runs, 57 RBIs, nothing impressive there. The Cardinals have a young lineup, a young, promising lineup. We'll see how it shakes up. But for me personally, just the fact that he's 37 years old, man, he's got a lot of wear and tear on his knees. So for me personally, I don't trust that. But I completely get it based on the scope of catchers that we have, why somebody wouldn't take him.
Yeah, and I should probably make the case as to why I have him at 11th. I like Yadier. Like, you don't get a catcher that hits 270 often. I believe there's 2 or 3, and at least in my top 20 that hit 270. So it's very rare you see a catcher hit 270. And I talked about in previous pods, you can always get your average sometime, but you can't really get you can get your power anytime you need to. So with that being said, power comes, in later rounds. You can get a guy that hits 30 home runs in the last round, 25 to 30, I should say. You can get Jock Peterson in there, So getting a guy like Yadier Molina with a 270 average, he still hits the ball good. He still has a decent offense around him. He's old, but I think he has like 1 or 2 more years left in the tank.
Yep. We'll see. So he's almost touching on 40, so I always root for him. He's a good guy. He's a guy that I think no doubt will be in the Hall of Fame based on longevity and just his defense alone. So I think that's all that we have today. So that was our catchers ranked number 17 through 20. We have a few more installments coming out this week, so make sure you check that out. And this is presented by the Fantasy Holics. And if you don't already, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at FantasyHolics1, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out our new website, thefantasyholics.com. We will see you guys next time.
See you later.